All right. Good morning, everyone. We have 50 minutes to fit our 2-year journey, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Nicole Obese from CCEE. I'm proud to open today's presentation on behalf of the Community Engagement Initiative's lead agency partners, the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence, the San Diego County Office of Education, Escolta School Research and Design, and the University of San Diego. You'll hear from each of our lead agencies today, and a special shout out to our teammates who will be monitoring the chat, and Aura, our teammate from CCEE, who is helping us to screen share. So good morning. Before we dive into the content, I want to ground us in what we'll be focusing on together today. So first, we'll learn about California's journey in building statewide capacity for community engagement, how this work began, how it's evolved through the Community Engagement Initiative, and what lessons have shaped where we are today. Next, we will explore the key frameworks that guide California's approach through the CEI. And then throughout, we want you to reflect on what this means for you, how California's approach connects to your own context, your district, your community, and the students and families that you serve. We invite you to listen with curiosity and think about where your work already aligns with this vision and where there might be opportunities to grow or collaborate. And then next, this is our plan for a short time together. You will experience some CEI strategies and just learn about how we are shaping community engagement across the state. Thanks, Ara. Part of our CEI work is hosting peer leading and learning network meetings. We bring together LEAs from across the state to engage with their own teams and in community with one another. And these that you see here on the screen, these are our community agreements that we use. These were created to help set our expectations for the network. And so I'm going to go ahead and read these. And just as I do, listen. If one of them resonates with you, jot that down. Hopefully you can find meaning in each one of these. But here they are. We are curious, open, and respectful. The story stays and the learning grows. We take space and we make space. We see the details and the big picture. We can't be articulate all the time. We speak from our experience and respect the experiences of others. And we take care of ourselves and one another. So if one of these resonates with you today, please hold on to it. Keep it in mind as we move through today's presentation. Creating community agreements is just one of the strategies that CEI uses to strengthen our community. And so for now, I thank you for taking the time to just get grounded this morning. Thank you for being here. And we're going to go ahead and get into our work for the morning. So first up is our partner, Linda from the San Diego County Office of Education.
Thanks, Nicole. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you all today. My name is Linda, and I have the pleasure of guiding us through a conocimiento this morning, which is a practice that helps us connect as a community before we dive deeper into our learning for this session. And so if you're not familiar with the term conocimiento, it comes from the Spanish word conocer, which means to know, and it's a research-based practice identified by Dr. Roberto Vargas that helps groups ground their work, lift the wisdom that's already in the room, and then help to create authentic connections. And when we intentionally make space for connection, we strengthen trust. And that trust is really what helps us to lead to deeper sharing, greater insights, and a stronger commitment to action. And so that's exactly what we're going to be doing now. We're going to take a moment to ground ourselves in connection before diving into the rest of our session. And so in just a moment, we'll put you into breakout rooms for about 5 minutes, and you'll see the directions next. You'll be in groups of about 5 people. And so when you get into your room, you're going to want to start by introducing yourself, share your name and your role, and then share a time where you felt authentically engaged in an event or an activity. This could be in your work or even in your personal life. And then as you share that, just things to think about. is what made that experience feel like more authentic? Were you being included in the decision making? What made you feel heard? And just considering the conditions that made the engagement feel a little bit more meaningful. So right now we'll give you about 5 minutes in your breakout rooms to share your stories and your reflection. And then after everyone has a chance to share, we'll come back together back into this open space. So enjoy your conversations, and then we will see you shortly.
Breakout rooms are open.
Hey, Ara, remember to screen share to the breakout rooms and then no music because they can hear that.
Okay. How do I screen share to the breakout room broadcast?
You'll hit share again and then far right, I think where it says other, or maybe not. Far right, you should see share to breakout.
Share to breakout room. Got it.
Then you just hit that and you should be good. Thanks, Sarah. Luis or Milo, if you're having any trouble, go ahead and unmute. We can help get you to a breakout room. And Kelly will make sure that you are assigned. You may just need to accept.
Yeah, they are assigned. It just says not joined. Oh, Luis got his.
If they have 5 minutes, they have until 11:12. It was just 3 minutes for like one person to share.
Perfect. Hi, Juan. Hi, Lindsay. We are in breakout rooms for an activity that we call Conocimiento. So you are going to be assigned. We're over there for just a couple minutes. You will be able to see the prompt that is currently being screen shared, but except if you see a pop out that is inviting you to a breakout room. And welcome. Awesome. Thanks, Kelly.
Sure.
And Linda, you said 11:12?
There's someone in a room by
Yes.
themselves, so I'm gonna move them. I'm not sure why that happened.
Yeah, let's move them. And then Aura, will you do a quick broadcast? Just 3-minute warning? Not by voice, just by typing text.
Kelly, was it room 9?
No, it was room 5. No, 6,
Okay.
sorry. Not your room. There are 2 people in the room you were assigned. Sorry, you didn't get co-host, so I just automatically assigned. But thanks
No
for
problem.
catching it. But there's 2 people in that room, so they're okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Aura. So, Aura, I saw your face when I know you were looking at me. Sorry, I was trying to do the background and I wasn't ready yet. Thanks for catching that and turning the music back up. Or Steve.
If anyone's in the waiting room, since we only have 2 minutes left, do you want me to we have one person here. Do you want me to send him over? Okay.
Yeah, we're in breakout rooms right now. You will see the prompt here on the screen. We're doing a strategy that we use in CEI called Conocimiento. You'll be over there for just a short time. If you can, please engage, but we will bring you all back in about 2 minutes or so. But welcome. Thanks, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And just to confirm in the internal agenda, no prompt or question for teams to respond to during element 5 and 6, right?
There was, Trayvon had put it in. Where did he put
I see 7. I have all the other ones queued up and ready to go. Got 3.
If they're pretty basic, you can just create one,
I'll
but
just,
if not, don't worry about it.
yeah, got it. I'll just do it right now.
Thanks, Casey.
Yeah.
All right, Linda, are we ready? Should we close?
Yes.
Ready
Second.
for me to close them back?
Yeah,
Yes.
it'll be about a 60-second, but I'm gonna go on mute. So Linda, tell you.
Okay, I'm gonna close them right now.
Welcome back, everyone. I see we have people trickling in from their breakout rooms. We're just going to give about 25 more seconds left for everyone to come back into our space before we move on to the next section. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you all for participating in that breakout discussion. I hope that you had an opportunity to have some meaningful conversations. And at this time, I'd love to open it up we have time for one person who would like to share what surfaced in their breakout room. So we have one brave person who may want to come off of mute or drop your thoughts in the chat. What insight or realization came up about authentic engagement and how that feels like in your breakout room? If there's anyone who would like to share.
I'll go.
Thank you, Sean.
Oh, very nice to meet you, Linda. So I would say that in our breakout room, we talked about how, honestly, just the simple question of asking, what do you think in a situation, or really engaging you in the conversation more was a way to feel like authentic engagement was happening. So we talked about our individual school districts or areas and just that simple conversation or introduction or opportunity to share.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate you. I brought up a really great insight. It reminds us how small shifts in approach can make a big difference in how people experience engagement. So I appreciate you sharing. If anyone else has additional things that came up and they'd like to share, please feel free to drop your thoughts in the chat. We'd love to see them. And then thank you all for just leaning into that space and sharing out both in your breakout rooms and in the main space. Those insights really do help us connect directly to the work that we're trying to achieve here in CEI and also within SSOS, where authentic engagement is really about building trust and valuing every voice and just ensuring everyone feels ownership in the process. And so one of the ways that we do achieve this is through our conocimientos. Every time we take a moment to connect like this, we strengthen the foundation for the kind of collaboration that CEI is all about. And so I really just want to thank you all for kicking off our session with such great energy and intention. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it back to Nicole to take us through our next section.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks to everyone who's engaging in the chat. We hope that you will do that often throughout our time together. We're going to get into the CEI background and an introduction of our frameworks. So we will take a moment to reflect on how far the Community Engagement Initiative has come. Over the years, we've seen tremendous growth, not just in size, but in depth, impact, and shared purpose. And so as you listen to the story of CEI's journey, including its history and framework, we invite you to reflect on this question. What are you hearing that reminds you why your community engagement work matters? If something resonates with you during this section or throughout, please feel free to share within the chat. And thanks, Casey, for dropping that in the chat. From the beginning, CEI has been about innovation, collaboration, and authentic partnership. This slide shows you how we've grown from cohort 1 to cohort 6. We started with 6 teams in cohort 1. This year we have 82 teams in cohort 5 and 60 teams in cohort 6. And the numbers are not really what is important here, though. We highlight this to share the power of community engagement. Early efforts helped us define what meaningful community engagement looks like. They helped us test new tools, build proof points, and shape a statewide vision for equity and trust. And today, that work continues to expand and deepen. Across California, districts, educators, students, families, and students and you and communities, we're transforming how engagement happens. And so we're trying to make it more inclusive, more intentional, and more impactful. Thank you, Ara. This work we're engaged in today didn't start here. It builds on more than a decade of advocacy by students, families, and communities. For years, they organized, spoke out, and pushed for fair funding in our schools in California. Their efforts have been critical in shaping policies that ensure resources are distributed more equitably. And alongside the call for fair funding has been a call for authentic community engagement. It's for real opportunities to shape decisions, priorities, and to genuinely support students. The Community Engagement Initiative, or CEI, was launched in 2019 as part of the statewide system of support. Its purpose is simple but powerful: to build the capacity of both school districts and communities to authentically engage with one another, with a special focus on improving outcomes for historically underserved groups who have often been left out of decision-making. We know that when families, students, and educators work together in authentic partnership, schools are stronger and student outcomes improve. And so CEI 2.0 expands on this vision. It gives LEAs the opportunity to truly transform their engagement practices. So through structures like the peer leading and learning networks, communities of practices, and peer leading and learning walks, LEAs within CEI are able to collaborate, test new ideas, and learn directly from one another. Our space is really designed to move beyond compliance. We hope, and our goal is to create a culture of shared learning, trust, and innovation around engagement. On our next slide, this shows you just how the Community Engagement Initiative fits into the statewide system of support. At the state level, we have our key partners, the CCEE, the CDE, and the State Board of Education. And together, we work together to set direction and provide resources. But then we have county offices of ed, GEO leads who serve as connectors and coaches to support local needs. And then finally, we have our resource leads and initiatives like CEI that provide expertise and practical tools to help districts build capacity. And so next, this is our co-created definition of community engagement. So I'm going to read this, use the chat to share what stands out to you. Community engagement is authentic partnerships between students, families, caregivers, schools, and communities grounded in equity, built on trust, and nurturing relationships that lead to positive student outcomes. So in the chat, please drop what resonates from you out of that definition. And I'll wait for just a moment. But think about your own context. Think about what stands out to you when it comes to community engagement. Thanks, Davina. Authentic partnerships, communities grounded in equity, trust. Trust is huge. It really builds the foundation to the work that we can do together, right? Positive student outcomes, transparent communication. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, everyone. We're going to go ahead and continue, but keep reading those comments in the chat. The chat is just one way that we build community together. But we're going to get into our CEI framework. It's how we bring this to reality. And so the CEI framework brings together two powerful approaches, the dual capacity framework and the participatory systems change for equity framework. The dual capacity building framework focuses on building the skills and knowledge and confidence of both families and educators so that they can partner effectively. This is about creating strong two-way relationships that support student success. And then the participatory systems change for equity framework helps us look at the bigger picture. It helps us look at the structures, the policies, and the conditions that are needed to shape and shift for equity to drive. And so on our next slide, when we combine these two, we get the CEI framework. And so our belief is that we can achieve the objectives that you see here on the left: knowledge sharing, collaborative learning, diverse perspectives, mutual support, and feedback and reflection by engaging in the CEI framework that you see here represented on the right-hand side of your screen. The center of the wheel is the goal of all of this work: authentic partnerships, trust-based, equity-centered relationships where families, students, educators, and communities co-create decisions, not just provide feedback. It's about shifting power and building shared ownership of outcomes. And so the orange ring represents the dual capacity building framework, which recognizes that both educators and families must have knowledge, skills, and confidence to support and engage meaningfully. This is the foundation for partnership. If either side lacks capacity, engagement will be shadowed or tokenized. This ring answers the question and represents the what needs to be strengthened to make engagement real. And then now the outer ring, where you'll see 7 elements of the participatory systems change for equity. These represent the how, the key actions and approaches that make equity-focused systems change possible. So we designed this as a wheel instead of a straight line because real change in our schools and communities doesn't happen in neat steps. It's more like a journey. So we revisit this throughout our peer learning and learning networks. And sometimes you will revisit things. Sometimes you start in different places depending on your local needs. We just want to just share that this process is flexible, it's ongoing. You might enter at different points and move throughout stages in your own way based on what's happening in your school or community. And so that's why we frame this as more of a circular design instead of just a straight next thing to do. And on this next slide, this is the CEI 2-year journey that we use within our peer leading and learning network. Our teams go through 2 years of leading and learning through an improvement and implementation science journey through the lens of community engagement. This CEI learning journey includes deliverables and key actions and activities such as testing change ideas and building sustainability plans. So this is CEI's roadmap, and while every journey is unique, this gives a clear view of what our participants can expect and when. And then lastly, throughout the rest of our time together here in this presentation, you might hear California Unified referenced, and CEI, we created California Unified as an exemplar district. And so you'll hear this in some of the practical examples that we're going to share related to the elements. And then next, our partner Jesse, we're going to get into the framework, just digging a little bit deeper, but Jesse from our lead agency partner, Escolta School Research and Design, I welcome you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. As we begin exploring CEI's framework this morning, the first 2 elements that I'm going to get a chance to share with you all is connect and community and see the system and center community experiences, because both are foundational. Here on the screen, you see element 1, and connecting in community is really about prioritizing relational trust and belonging. It means intentionally creating spaces where people can bring their full selves, listen to understand, and build meaningful relationships across, diverse spaces. On the slide, you will see that one of the ways in which we have brought this to life in CEI is by convening community of practices. These spaces strengthen collective capacity, surface best practices, and advance system-level approaches to family, school, and community collaboration. We are highlighting today one of our COPs, and that is a committee of practice that we have created for family and caregivers who are part of the CEI teams. If you get next slide, thank you. So this COP is a virtual year-long offering, and it is 6 two-hour sessions across the year. This community of practice was designed based on caregiver and family feedback and research on family school partnerships. It supports CEI family and caregiver team participants deepen their knowledge, build peer connections, and strengthen their participation in school, CEI teams, and the community spaces that they show up in. Once those connections are in place, we move into seeing the system. This is where we take a deeper look at how community members experience education systems individually, interpersonally, and systemically. By centering lived experiences, we begin to understand where systems serve well and where they cause harm. In practice, this might look like hosting empathy interviews, conducting data equity walks, or engaging in community listening sessions. Each of these approaches helps reveal patterns that can guide authentic, equity-driven change. In CEI, LEA teams are guided through a data equity walk using a 3-phase process. The first phase is really orienting themselves with the data, which is what you see here on the screen. This is the sample of a dashboard that we have created utilizing California Unified that Nicole uplifted earlier. And after that, they go through the phase of engaging in a collaborative discussion using a protocol such as the I Notice, I Wonder, with the aim to help CEI teams engage deeply in the data and surface equity-related insights. The third phase is reflection and share out. And this step of the data equity walk would be used if we had small teams looking at different data sets. For example, we would have a team looking at dashboard data and another part of the team looking at the LCAP. However, when we walk our CEI teams through data equity walk, we model and engage in the process of looking at the same sample data, so we share out as a whole group. So it's really important for us to walk them through this process collectively as a group. And, with that, we then move on to our next element. And for that, I have my colleague from USD, Kelly.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Bondi. I work for the University of San Diego, and I'm going to talk a little bit about elements 3 and 4. So now that we've connected and seen the system clearly, the next step is to dream a vision for the future. And this is where really communities come together, the students, families, educators, and the partners, to imagine what thriving schools and systems could look like. And this shared vision isn't just aspirational fluff, it's really grounded in the real experiences, strengths, and hopes of the community. So on this slide here, you'll see a practical application, next slide please, that we use for this element, which is called the empathy interview. It's an opportunity to build deep connections and collect meaningful data from different educational partners. And part of creating the vision is ensuring that all voices are brought to the table, and empathy interviews can be a useful way to hear from different perspectives. On this next slide, you'll see the empathy interview protocol. So this protocol can be adapted for many situations, and these are the essential ingredients for hosting an empathy interview. First, you must assemble a diverse team that includes teachers, community members, and multilingual facilitators. And then next, you need to strategize on the right people to interview. These should be those that are closest to the problem being addressed. They should be diverse voices and represent those that are typically marginalized and left out of providing input. Next, you want to prepare interview questions that are open-ended. Encourage detailed responses that are not just yes or no or ratings, and they really should be story-based, where people are sharing specific examples that illustrate their perspectives. And it should be focused on emotions, exploring how the various school interactions made families feel, and not just emphasizing what happened. And lastly, you want to ensure you're creating a safe and trusting environment for interviewees to share. So you might want to consider conducting these interviews in a familiar community space or home, and not just at school. You also want to ensure you're providing flexible scheduling and even offer Zoom if travel is an obstacle, and ensure confidentiality and make sure that they know that their responses will be kept confidential. And unlike a traditional interview that requires more structure, empathy interviews should be more open-ended and based on stories and feelings. In empathy interviews, participants drive the conversation instead of the interviewer. And lastly, I mentioned this, but just to reiterate, empathy interviews focus on the why behind our feelings and actions, while normal interviews tend to emphasize the what. And so overall, this is an extremely effective protocol and one that CEI utilizes in multiple settings throughout the 2-year journey. Actually, cohort 6, the students and adults will be engaging in it in December. And it's a practice that we hope all of our participating LEAs implement within their communities. So next up, on the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about element 4. And now, taking the data collecting that we have done, now it is time to decide priorities and goals. And these are the guideposts that really move the vision into action. And together, communities can define what success looks like and set measurable goals that reflect their values. On the next slide, you'll see a tool that is often utilized under this element, and that is known as the driver diagram, which our survey data indicates is one of the most popular tools that CEI provides. On the next slide, you'll see it just a little bit closer, but you can see in this example, this is what Nicole had mentioned earlier. CEI provides an exemplar of a driver diagram, which is based off of the fictional LEA named California Unified. So for a lot of the tools that the LEAs participate in and utilize, we provide that exemplar so they can see it practically applicated. And really, a driver diagram allows groups to create a graphic that maps out their problem statement, which is really where the journey begins and where their improvement work starts. And then it also includes their aim statement, which is essentially their goal, where they're going. It also forces the group to determine what the primary and secondary drivers are to help them achieve that aim statement. And within each driver, they have also listed change ideas. You can see those on the right-hand column. These are specific and testable. And as you analyze this diagram, it's important to remember that the change ideas are really theories in action. They should directly connect to the aim statement, and they should be grounded in what the families and students have said matters most. And as you can see in this example, which is based for California Unified, the community developed this driver diagram to increase English learner family engagement in decision-making by 50%. And this goal didn't come from a top-down mandate. It really came from listening to families and co-designing a plan to shift communication and access. And if you think about the tools that have been shared previously, like the empathy interview and the data equity walk, those are the data that is collected in order to identify this aim statement, because it's grounded in research and it's grounded in data, which hopefully will lead to implementation and transformational systems change. So like I said, this tool in particular gets very highly reviewed in our survey data, and it's something that we hope all of the LEAs and anyone really can implement in their own communities. And now I'm going to pass it off to my colleague from SDCOE, who's going to take you through the next two elements, Linda.
Thanks, Kelly. All right, so with a shared vision and goals in place, elements 5 and 6 guide us toward generating change approaches and aligning systems to sustain them. So Element 5, Generating Change Approaches, is all about partnering with communities to brainstorm and design solutions, creating programs, services, and actions that interrupt inequities and open opportunities for families and communities to thrive. In other words, Element 5 is all about co-creation, and we really work with communities to design the change that is meaningful and relevant. And so in CEI, one of the ways we bring Element 5 to life is through student-led change initiatives. And this means supporting students in designing and implementing their own change projects around things that matter to them. And these projects don't just build leadership skills, they give students a real platform to use their voice and influence change in their schools and their communities. And so in CEI, students participate in what we call the Student Leadership Pathway. This is a 2-year learning journey that supports their growth as leaders. And in year 2 of their journey, students begin applying the leadership skills that they developed in their first year. They're strengthening their ability to advocate, collaborate, and also plan for action. And throughout year 2, students design and implement a positive social norms campaign. And a positive social norms campaign is a youth-driven project that uses real data to highlight positive behaviors and empower their peers to make healthy, informed decisions. And in the process of creating these campaigns, students learn how to gather and analyze data, identify root causes of issues in their communities, and then they also help to design strategies for meaningful change. And so each student really ends their journey by presenting a campaign that truly reflects their voice, their needs, their priorities, and their visions for positive change. And that's exactly what Element 5 is all about, creating space for our youth, our families, and our community members to move from ideas to action together. And so now that we've explored how communities generate change ideas in Element 5, Element 6 is all about aligning policies, practices, and resources. It's about making sure that those ideas are going to last. And because ideas alone aren't enough, alignment is what ensures sustainability. And so when policies, practices, and resources align with community-driven goals, the transformation that happens becomes lasting, and the systems are able to operate more coherently with each other. So this means working alongside young people, our families, and also our community partners to really identify opportunities for alignment. And one way CEI teams put this into practice is through the impact and effort matrix. Teams bring together school district staff, students, families, and community partners to review their potential change ideas and evaluate them based on impact and feasibility. But this process is more than just ranking ideas. It's a participatory approach that really ensures every voice is heard and that selected change truly reflects the priorities and the needs of the entire community. And so moving into the next slide, you'll get to see that matrix a little better. And while the matrix helps teams identify which ideas will have the greatest impact, it also encourages them to consider alignment with broader school and district goals. And because multiple partners are involved, the process really helps to build connections across the entire community. It creates space to collaborate, reflect, and decide together what actions we want to prioritize. So in short, the impact and effort matrix really helps CI teams align their change ideas with system goals and plan for lasting community-driven improvements. And so we know that change isn't a one-time initiative. It's about embedding community-driven practices across systems so that they become part of how we operate every single day. And so as we close Element 6, I just want to invite you all to think about this. Where do you see opportunities for better alignment in your own context? And with that reflection in mind, I'll now pass it to my colleague from USD, Julia, who will take us through our final element.
Thank you, Linda. The final element of the CEI framework, learning together and grow change, brings the cycle full circle. Systems change isn't linear. It's an ongoing process of reflection, learning, and improvement. That this element emphasizes creating consistent opportunities for students, families, community partners, and system leaders to learn with one another, not just from one another. Part of this element is practicing the use of co-created evaluation tools like empathy interviews, like Kelly mentioned, event trackings, surveys, and digital engagement. Communities can assess what's working and where adjustments are needed. This is an example of the co-created tool that any LEA can use to track their data. For example, in California Unified, data showed that only 15% of English learner families felt part of decision-making processes. By tracking engagement through attendance, surveys, and feedback loops, the district was able to measure progress toward its goal of 50% engagement, and more importantly, use that learning to guide its next steps. So on the next page, the key takeaway, growth happens when learning is shared, transparent, and continuous. It's about cultivating a culture where improvement is co-owned by the community. Next slide. Okay. As we close, we'd like to invite you into a reflection practice called the Ultima Palabra, or the last word. Next slide. The strategy adapted from the teaching method, Save the Last Word for Me, honors every voice in the room. It gives each of us a moment to pause and name what we're taking away, a word, a phrase, or an emoji that captures how we're feeling coming into the CEI session and how we're feeling as we leave today's CEI session. Using words, phrases, or emojis, please share your answers to these questions in the chat. How were you feeling coming into today's CEI session? And how are you feeling as you leave today's CEI session? We'll give about 3 minutes and just type your answers in the chat, and then we'll see. Oh. Thank you, Jeanette. Is that curious, Milo? I like that monocle. Curious and starstruck, aligned with the goals coming into the session, leaving the session better informed on resources. Kenya, smiley face. Increase alignment between the work and bilingual family liaisons and teachers for promoting academic achievement. I see Casey's dropped the link to the slides in the, wait, he will share the slides at a later time. Thank you all for sharing. Last one, not sure if alignment here, but California State PTA offers a family engagement program designed to increase family involvement, student success, and attendance for up to 30 parents, caregivers. Okay, thank you for sharing that, Celine. So thank you everyone for sharing. We know you could have joined any session, so we appreciate your presence with us today. We hope you enjoyed learning more about CEI. If you have any questions, feel free to join us at the round table later today or contact us at info@ceaengage.org. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We hope you'll join us at the roundtable. And we are recruiting for cohort 7. So Casey dropped the link for that. If you're interested, please join. Grab that link, join our interest list. We will be releasing our RFA for cohort 7 at the top of the year, so early 2026. But thank you all.